Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another podcast here on the EKN Radio Network. It's a new one. We decided to come up with something a little new. There's going to be a lot of different shows coming on to the EKN Radio Network over the next 12 months. But this is one that I've been thinking about bringing into the show. And again, my name is Rob Howden. Let's start with that. David Cole joining me as he always does. Brand new show, This Week in Karting. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go to the EKN homepage. We're going to tell you about what the primary news stories that have come into the news desk, press releases that have come out, essentially just giving all the EKN listeners a wrap-up of what's happened in the last week in the sport of karting here in North America. It's going to be perfect for the morning commute. You can listen to it on the EKN Radio Network. You download the app to your mobile device. Of course, we'll get it up in the podcast form as well. Just a really good opportunity for, as I said, on the way to work, coming home from work, kind of just get everything brought together, what happened this week, and what we were putting up on the homepage of the EKN website. Again, big thank you to having everybody listening to us. The podcasts have been going great. We love getting the feedback. One of the other things we're starting now is we're going to start posting to Twitter and Facebook when we do have a podcast guest planned, get an opportunity to ask some questions that we'll then bring into the podcast. Well, David Cole, I know you've been busy at the EKN news desk. Lots of great stuff coming in. I would assume you'd probably like it to slow down just a little bit because we're getting ready to rock into Super Nationals prep. You know, we'll be talking about our coverage, but you've got previews to do. I know you're going to WK this weekend. You'll be leaving. This is actually going to come out on Friday, October the 26th. You're going to be, well, when this comes out, you're going to be flying to Charlotte for the final round of the WK Manufacturers Cup. But, dude, once you get home from that, it's hammer down. Super Nats time.
I think I'll actually be landed because my flight's so damn early tomorrow.
True.
Yes, it's been flat out. We thought we had a little bit of a break in October, but it's just been nonstop action. As there's a lot going on within the industry and in sport in general, obviously with the international events that we've had at the beginning of the month and now moving into the WK finale this weekend. And then, of course, November is Rock the Rio and Super Nats. So lots going on in the sport. Maybe we'll get some rest when Christmas comes.
I was going to say, we do get a little bit of a breather after the Super Nats. Of course, that leads right into Thanksgiving, couple of days off, long weekend. And then really through the month of December, we're focused just on getting ready for the new season. Obviously, the SKUSA Winter Series kicks things off. The WK Manufacturers Cup fires up, as does road racing and dirt at WK Kart Week at Daytona. And then, of course, the Florida Winter Tour Challenge of the Americas. And we're right back in at it again, January, February, March. But again, David, as I said, hoping maybe for things to slow down in terms of the work you do to make sure all the news gets up on the homepage, onto EKN, and of course, shared out onto our social media channels as well. But man, still lots and lots coming in. And I think let's kick off This Week in Karting, our episode number 1, first ever episode of this new podcast. One of the big news items that came out, David, was the announcement that Superkarts USA and IAME were ready to begin distribution of their first units of the IAME SKUSA shifter engine, the SSE. It's now here in North America. They're going to be able to get the orders rolling out of the IAME USA headquarters. You know, this is essentially the future of Superkarts USA's gearbox program moving forward, at least a component of it. I would expect that we're going to see the stock Honda still have a place in regional racing, whatever it may be, not obviously on the national level in years to come, but really, this is it, right? This is the first wave of these SSE engines coming in, and that was kind of some big news that hit the airwaves this week.
Yeah, we're still waiting to see people posting any photos of the engine and or maybe testing stuff that, you know, we haven't seen that. But again, everybody's kind of focused on Super Nats, so I don't think you're going to see really a lot of media or social media hype about the engine until after the Super Nats. I mean, you're going to hear some talk about it throughout the paddock, of course, but really, we're not going to get a grasp of this engine until after then.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. And again, like not even till next year, really, is that engine coming into the pro shifter ranks on, I believe, the Winter Series and the Pro Tour. I'm assuming it'll probably be the same for the Pro Kart Challenge. We're going to try to set up an interview with Tom Kutcher before we head into the Supernats. We obviously did one with Garrett Potter for Rock the Rio. I really want to make sure that we're able to get Tom on a podcast to talk about the biggest race in the sport. But yeah, pro shifter for the engine in 2019, being told master shifter will follow in 2020. We're not going to see much, David. I think you're right, because they may bolt them on and start testing, but right now with the stock Honda still for pro shifter and master shifter at the Supernats, that's the focus, right?
That excuse me. Oh, that's sorry about that, man.
Hack up some lung butter.
I thought I got rid of it. Again, it's just, there's still that question of, and I think we're going to find out more at the California Pro Kart Challenge banquet this weekend. Because we know Tom likes to make these random announcements, and I think he's really gonna let everybody know, hey, this is what we're doing for 2019. So I think there we might learn a little bit about what shifter engines are going to be utilized at the regional program. Can-Am's already kind of been opened up a little bit, so I'm assuming that the SSE engine is going to be brought in right away. Texas Pro Kart Challenge, what are they going to do? Their numbers have been, so. Obviously, we've talked about it over and over again. The shifter numbers aren't what they used to be when the Texas Pro Kart Challenge started. A lot of it has to do with the uncertainty of the Honda engine, and a lot of it has to do with just guys just not racing anymore. So, will this spark some more regional racing down there? And how will the numbers look in the Masters category, with people knowing they have one final year essentially with the Honda engine?
And see, that's my kind of take on this is that I think it's wide open. I really believe that, SKUSA, their best bet would be to say, hey, listen, what do you guys want to run? We're running this new motor because it's our future. There's no doubt about that. We're going to run it in pro shifter for a year. Let those guys, let the drivers and the top mechanics and the teams, let them beat on the engine. If there's any areas that we want to fix on it or update, we can do that after they've been able to really kind of wring it out a little bit, put it in the hands of the pros. Let's find out if there's any liabilities and we can fix those. And then, of course, move into the Masters and the other categories afterwards. But I still believe that it would be wise for them to still offer the stock Honda. If there's people that want to come and play, they should be able to come and play. Obviously, SKUSA had a S3 category, S1, S2, S3, and the S4 classes. But they have the S3 class, which is essentially the rookie stock Honda category. Pretty easy to have your pros running the IME SSE and have everybody else still coming in on the with a stock Honda if they want. So I would not be surprised to see a stock Honda category everywhere still in 2018. 2019 and even in 2020. I think that this is something that's not going to go away. People will ask me, what's going to happen to the stock Honda? David, you and I both know it's not going to go away. It's still going to be club level at certain areas. It's still going to be regional level at other areas, street racing. And it's going to be big in road racing still, too. That's still an engine that rocks on the road courses.
Well, road racing is going to be one where it's going to stay around. And you're right. I think it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. It's not going to go away because, like you said, it's a great package for these novice shifter kart racers. Like you said, the S3 category. We're seeing big numbers always at the LAKC and California Pro Kart Challenge because that's where they're bringing new people into the sport, is this S3 category. A lot of these, you're going to get them at club tracks, but there's not any regional anywhere outside California that are bringing novice shifters out to sprint racing. So that I think club level wise, the Honda package will be the way to go. It's kind of like the Leopard. I think that's something we can learn from when the transition went from the Leopard to the X30. A lot of these club guys grabbed up these $1,000 Leopards just sitting out there ready to be taken. So it's something we're going to wait and see, but I think Honda will be around. I think I'm going to estimate 5 more years at least.
Yeah. You know what? And maybe even longer. Exactly right. Because even if parts become scarce, there's going to be all these engines out there that they're going to be able to scavenge for parts if you wanted. So anyways, this is This Week in Karting. We're talking about all the stuff that's hit the EKN website over the last 7 to 10 days. We're going to try to make it a weekly podcast here on the EKN Radio Network. Thank you so much for joining us here today. David, let's move on to the next piece that hit the airwaves just a couple days ago, actually. And that was the fact that the Dan Wheldon Award which was a big part of the Florida Winter Tour for so many years. Of course, Dan raced down there. He raced in a number of Super Nationals as well. It's actually going to be awarded this year at the Super Nationals on Super Sunday. And I think that's really fitting. Dan, of course, loved running at the Super Nats. So I got a chance to go back and look at a couple of the interviews that I did with him, that other people did, that Honda did. And he just talked about how much he loved racing against the young guns in Superkarts USA. Loved getting out there and battling with them. And of course, we lost Dan so many years ago. But this award always, the concept behind the award was to celebrate what he brought to the sport. And I think it's super cool that Mike Marini and the crew have decided to bring it to the Super Nationals. We'll award it on Super Sunday in the opening ceremonies. I think it's tremendous. Let me set up a little bit about, for those of you who may not know about the Dan Wheldon Award, what the criteria is. Over the years, some amazing people have won it. Jim Russell Jr., Alan Rudolph, George Arellano from Ocala, Ben Cooper, Garrett Potter, Rubens Barrichello, the most recent winner of this award. Essentially, the criteria is that they're looking for someone in the karting industry. Of course, drivers are prominent in any series, but they're also looking for individuals like parents, tuners, mechanics, coaches, team managers, event promoters, media, track owners, importers, people in the industry, people that are in the sport, and they're looking for people that are ambassadors of the sport, always willing to help. Someone that brings smiles to the face of karters just makes the sport better. So it's not just drivers or mechanics; it's really available to anybody in the sport. But David, your thoughts? Pretty cool, for them to bring it to the Super Nats. I think it's kind of a bipartisan event, even though it's a SKUSA race. It really, from the very beginning, when Jim Murley and Don Janowski rolled it out back in the late 90s, it was called the U.S. Open of shifter kart racing. The idea was to have everybody come in. I think that's still the case with the Super Nats.
It still is. It's a global event, really. I mean, when you look at it now, it wasn't so much when it began, but now it's become, essentially a global event. Some people in Europe still may not recognize it and keep scheduling races on top of it. But again, it's a global event. It brings together a lot of racers, a lot of guys who don't race SKUSA typically are coming in. I mean, we're talking 500 drivers from around the world. So it's, Super Sunday is a great stage to present this award because obviously, again, everybody who's in the industry is there. Even if they're a team that's not racing, they're there. If they have the industry row with a number of different companies that are there, so it's a massive event, and it's the big stage. It's our big stage in North America, and it's a great opportunity to present the award during Super Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Of course, I host Super Sunday, as I have for 21 years now. And it'll be exciting to have Mike up there. He'll, of course, name the winner. They'll get a personalized trophy. They have a copy of Michael Voorhees' photo book, Dan Wheldon Lionheart, and there'll be some swag coming from Bell Helmets as they sponsor the award. We're going to actually throw some stuff in, some product in for ekartingnews.com as well, because I believe in the program. It was always a pleasure getting a chance to talk to Dan at the races, and it was fun having him out there battling out with the drivers, whether he was running shifter or if he was running tag. Just always fun to have him out there. So, David, moving on here. This week in karting doesn't happen every week, but you dug in, pulled out the Excel spreadsheet and went to work adding more results in. The EKN Driver Rankings, an update release going into the Super Nats to find out who is going to win our essentially number one ranked driver of the year program for 2018. Of course, finishing the season after the Super Nats with the number one position on the driver rankings also comes with a brand new Bell helmet. Big thank you to Chris Wheeler and everybody at Bell Racing USA for being our partner on the EKN Driver Rankings. David, stock Honda, man, it's pretty tight up top, but Billy Musgrave still looking good as number one.
Yeah, Billy Musgrave, last year's Super Nationals winner, continues to put down results. Obviously, was in contention this season for the Pro Tour Championship. Just came up short, not really able to produce at Newcastle. So I think he has a little bit of vengeance behind him right now to go back into Super Nats and defend. And it's something we typically have not seen in that category at the Super Nationals. So that'll be interesting. The advantage is a little bit more than 100 points over Nick LeDuc. LeDuc, I was able to get a hold of, and he has confirmed he's not racing Pro Shifter. So he's going to lose his results from last year, which should put him outside the top 5, maybe even the top 10 of the rankings at the end of the season. So he's going to be racing KZ in Vegas.
And that's the interesting note. And a couple of people have messaged me recently about the driver rankings, wondering where their driver went from the rankings or why they fell. People have to realize our driver rankings is a sliding 12-month scale. So you don't get to keep last year's Supernats. So what happens is 12 months. So when David does the calculations to see who's going to win overall, the national number, rather the number one ranking, our driver of the year from EKN, you lose last year's Supernats and gain this year. So, Billy Musgrave looking good, David, with that big win last year. If something happens in the main, that could blow things wide open. I know that Kyle Wick's back. Kyle Wick P3, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Musgrave should happen to falter at all, it's Super Sunday. You have Kyle Wick there, who's going to make his second Pro Shifter start at the Super Nationals because he made his debut there in Vegas last year. Wick was a top 6 contender last year in his debut, racing with Paulo Di Canto and all the other top guns in Pro Shifter. So Wick definitely has the opportunity to sneak up and maybe steal the number 1 position depending on what happens.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
But again,
he's only less than 200 points behind, right?
Yeah. And
or just over 2. Just over less than 2. No, just over 2. He's got 68.57. Less than 200.
Do your math.
God, you know what? Dude, you're my that's why I hired you. You're the math major.
You were saying it. I was going to get into it.
Math is hard. Math is hard.
That's the other T-shirt I need. Math is hard.
We should get one.
But yeah, he won on the Pro Tour already. He's got, I believe, 3 podiums over the 6 races. So it could be no surprise to see him up top.
And so close behind him as well, Jake French. Not quite sure yet if he's going to be racing at the Supernats. Rory Vanderster, who's been on an absolute tear this year, moving from S2 to S1 this year, the pro category. He's got 68.26. He's just over 200 points behind himself. It's just so close. And again, I like it. You got to go to the Supernats. You got to get the job done. Billy did it last year, got the S1 win, put him to P1, and gave him that little bit of a gap. You got to perform in Vegas this year if you want to hold the spot, right?
For sure. And going back to French, talking with him, he's going to be in Vegas. He's there. They're just not sure if it's going to be Pro Shifter or KZ. So I think either we'll find out when we get there, or we'll find out during our entry list if he happens to pre-enter. So we'll see. We'll see what their plans are when they hit Vegas next month.
Again, this is our first episode of the This Week in Karting podcast here on the EKN Radio Network. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Let's move now to the tag rankings, David, that you released this week. Pretty impressive top 5. 5 different states, regions, 4 different chassis and teams, all in that top 5. And it's only a 50-point difference up front between Ryan Norberg and Samuel Lupien.
Yeah, not to mention 2 countries. I forgot to put that in with Lupien being Canadian.
Canada.
He is obviously the top Canadian, sitting there in the 2nd spot. Norberg's kind of led the standings all season long. Now a 3-time SKUSA Pro Tour champion. But again, it all is going to boil down to Super Sunday. Lupien was runner-up last year, so that's a solid result for him, where Norberg was 5th after I had not projected him to be on the podium.
I was holding back on that.
So we're going to see what happens, in Vegas. Really a position or 2 here or there between those guys could define who ends up as a number 1 driver at the end of the year.
And again, just over 200 points 200 points back is Dante Yu, who is, of course, super impressive right now as well, coming off a big run at Lancaster. And I'll tell you, you said it, David, it's the Supernats, right? And with 80-something drivers in the field, you struggle, even though Ryan, of course, has the guaranteed Super Sunday starting spot with his championship in the Pro Tour. Man, you know what? You have a struggle. You have a couple of bad heats, and you find yourself at the tail of the field. That could change everything when it comes to the rankings. And again, cool that the Super Nats has gone back to that one-off race, right? It's no longer part of the Pro Tour. You don't have in your mind, hey, I'm trying to race for a championship. Maybe I don't go for the win at the Super Nats, so I get the title. It's wide open, no worries. Get at it. And Ryan Norberg, as you said, David, you did not pick him in your predictions to be in the top 5. Of course, everybody at PSL took offense to that. We got a ripping from Stefan St. Charles, which I love. That's good ribbing. But you know what? You came with your pick honestly, because he hadn't had that success at the Super Nats top 5 last year. That kind of bodes a little better for him this time around, is it not?
Well, it's going to be his 3rd start ever at the Super Nats. Last year was his 2nd start. So I was playing experience over talent. Well, not really talent, but experience over momentum. So, and sometimes momentum wins over experience. We'll see, because Dante Yu again won Lancaster last year, and then Super Sunday flips. Yep. So Dante, kind of has a thing out for Super Nats, and maybe he's going to be coming at it with vengeance as well too. So those all three of those guys too, as well as you mentioned, have guaranteed spots on Super Sunday. So no matter what happens, they'll be in the final.
Yeah, indeed. And Dante Yu, to add, he flipped and kept going. That's what I love. Remember, he flipped the cart back over, hopped back in the thing, and kept going. So Ryan Norberg, Samuel Lupian, Dante Yu, 1st, 2nd, 3rd now in the tag rankings of the EKN Driver Rankings presented by Bell Helmets USA. Brandon Jarsakrak in 4th and Alex Bertignoli in 5th. None of those drivers out of it still, depending on what happens on Super Sunday. Folks, we're going to go to our first break on this first episode, the inaugural edition of This Week in Karting here on the EKN Radio Network. Stick with us. More news from the front page of EKN when we come back. From coast to coast, Miami has become the 2-cycle engine of choice for American karting. Starting with the air-cooled 60cc Swift engine and moving through to the incredible X30 powerplant, Miami is providing much-needed stability for the sport. The Swift and X30 engines are the backbone of the SuperKart USA Pro Tour and Pro Kart Challenge Series, as well as the USPKS, the Route 66 Sprint Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. We're thrilled to introduce the new Miami KA100 Rejet engine with a special introductory price of just $16.95 until the end of February. The new engine is getting rave reviews and will be part of the USPKS, Route 66, and WKA Man Cup programs in 2018. Watch for more regions of the country to get on board with this new formula. We have 2 distribution centers in the U.S. to serve you well. Miami East in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Miami West in Temecula, California. The momentum is continuing to build, so it's time to make an investment in stabilizing your engine program. For more information on Miami, head to the website for your region, MiamiUSAEast.com or MiamiUSAWest.com. Since 2003, K1 Race Gear has been a one-stop shop for all your indoor and outdoor karting needs. From racing shoes, suits, and driving gloves to chest protectors, rib vests, accessories, and bags, K1 Race Gear provides quality karting products for the enthusiast and the professional alike. We have an incredible lineup of K1 karting suits designed to fit everyone's budget. Check out our entry-level GK2, the new Apex 2, and our top-of-the-line Speed 1 suit. Then, choose from our Apex and RS1 karting gloves and add in our K1 shoes, rib protectors, and neck collars. If you need a custom suit to support your sponsors, we can create a custom look as unique as you are. As you would expect, our custom suits are made to order. With pricing as low as $495, you're sure to find a suit that not only satisfies your racing needs, but is easy on the wallet as well. We take care of all of our customers at K1 Race Gear, not just the ones with deep pockets. Visit K1RaceGear.com today and get everything you need for your next racing season. Welcome back to the inaugural episode of This Week in Karting. Thank you so much for joining us here on the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, the news desk manager of EKN. David, some really cool news coming out of Texas, actually. We've had this gap of no races. Man, I was going stir crazy. I already am going stir crazy. I don't usually watch Formula One because I don't want to get up early. I just social media blows up, so I don't tape it. But of course, it was in Texas. It was at COTA, F1 for the U.S. Grand Prix. I ended up watching a majority of that race. I was also watching a couple other things. One of the cool things that happened, now F4 and F3 were racing there as well. Sabre Cook was there running her F4. But the coolest deal is she was a part of a competition that weekend, the Infinity Engineering Academy for 2018. Sabre Cook, who is, of course, a top driver, has been for many years, a champion in the S2 category for Superkarts USA. Dude, she, a mechanical engineering student from Colorado, she wins the Infinity Engineering Academy 2018, the USA component. Absolutely unbelievable. She's going to get a 6-month work placement with the Renault F1 team in England, and then a further 6 months at the Infinity Technical Center in Europe. What an opportunity for Sabra, who is, number one, a fantastic driver, but man, she knows her stuff when it comes to mechanical engineering, and to get that opportunity, such a tremendous accomplishment, and then what an experience coming her way.
Well, yeah, it's a great avenue for a lot of the kids who are in karting right now to kind of look at. The percentages are very, very, very low. Very, it's kind of like winning that Mega Millions in order to be an F1 driver. It really is. And so to go at it behind, on the other side of the fence as a engineer is probably the best route to be involved in motorsports throughout your life. And, obviously we've seen Sabre grow up from cadets all the way through and, be a SKUSA Pro Tour champion, and we knew when she got to school that she was going to be going at it as hard as she did with racing. So she's really put a lot of emphasis into her education, and it's certainly paying off to be involved in racing and education at the same time. And this program just hits both, and obviously is going to spark maybe a great career for her.
Yeah, Sabre is such an impressive young woman, just 24 years of age, and to be able to get connected with the Renault F1 team, she's going to go work there for 6 months. You got to believe she's going to. You'd think she'd try to keep her racing career going, but at this point, probably all in terms of becoming a mechanic, an engineer, whatever it may be, with one of these big Formula One teams. And I think we're going to get her on for a podcast coming in the near future, because this is such an unbelievable accomplishment for her. Actually, was awarded and announced by F1 Renault driver Nico Hulkenberg. They were in pit lane at Austin at the Circuit of the Americas on the weekend during the Grand Prix, and you can imagine her mind that weekend, right? She's going to go race in the F4 all weekend long, but to have that accomplishment happen beforehand, she must have been on a high just for the entire weekend in Texas.
Well, she actually got a hard charger of the weekend. She had some issues in qualifying, wasn't able to complete a lap, and I think she passed 33 cars over the 2 races that the F4 series had during the weekend.
Pretty impressive run for her. She's did some racing on the road to Indy, moved over and did some racing in F4 as well. And again, what a great way to cap off. As you said, I think someone ran over her, some contact in the first lap of qualifying. She ended up having to start at the tail of a pretty deep field in F4 and sliced her way forward. And as you said, she was the hard charger, which was very, very impressive. Moving on to some more news that we had on the EKN homepage here this past week. One of the things, David, we've been watching is, first off, the news that Sarah Fisher and her husband, Andy O'Gara, had purchased Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis. Super cool to see these people that are so focused, are so dedicated to the sport. IndyCar, they've got the indoor track in Speedway, Indiana, but they come in and buy Whiteland when there was a possibility it may go away. I think they were worried that maybe some development was going to come in. They roll in. Not only do they buy it, but dude, they did a massive quick facelift on that place, and it looks tremendous. And the plans they have to roll out, it's just going to give that region another tremendous racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the oldest karting facilities that we have in the United States. So to have it go away would have been very, there's tons and tons, hundreds of racers in the Indianapolis area that have started at Wheldon. This was well before, Newcastle was around in 2004. So a lot of these racers who are, maybe not in the sport anymore, but are still in motorsports or began there and their kids now are just getting into it. It's a great place. It's a grassroots facility. It's really what it is.
Yeah. And we like those too, right? It's great to have the major national programs for sure, the big tracks. But our sport still needs those awesome club-level boring racetracks where you can get out there in a 206 or a Yamaha or a 100cc tag and just get at it, right?
Exactly. That's what you need for the sport to grow. I mean, again, if we could get 100 racers at all the little tracks that we have across the country, I mean, the pool for national level racing would be so much larger.
No doubt. So let's go from the news, of course, that was a couple of weeks back, obviously, that the Wheldon Raceway Park was being purchased by Andy and Sarah. The news this week was they had a big race. They decided to throw a money race out there and $1,000 to win. And the cool news that we got was, VM Kart USA, which is based in Indiana, they were able to score the win in the 206 category with Eric Fagan. He was able to get the victory. The reopening of Wheldon Raceway Park. Got a chance to chat with Andy Gurnand a little bit about it. Fagan was actually using their 30 mil America chassis. It's the chassis that VM Kart USA uses for 100cc and tag applications. Of course, Vince and Lorenzo Mandarino, the designer and the manufacturer of that VM kart. We've seen it really start to take root here this year. They've won some championships. Chase Gardner got some titles. Eric Jackson's been driving it. But they end up winning this 206 race at Wheldon, $1,000 payday on their 30 mil chassis, even though they have a new purpose-built 206 chassis in development. So look for that from VM Kart. But that was some of the news that hit EKN this past week, them winning both Eric Fagan and, of course, VM Kart USA with a big victory. $1,000, dude. Not too bad for some 206 work at Wheldon.
Not at all. I'd take that any day of the week.
Right.
And of course, Fagan is a WKA champion and one of the top drivers in the Briggs and Stratton weekly racing series standings. So, Fagan's no slouch, definitely knows how to wheel a kart, and definitely he's been in a number of different chassis brands. So he's typically one to be able to put it right at the front.
Not surprising that those of you who have obviously come to ekartingnews.com every morning just to check out what the hottest thing, what's going on. You're looking at the top stories, checking out the Newswire. One of the things, David, that came in through the Newswire for us was, and we expect to have them rolling in regularly now, was CRG Nordam confirming their European lineup for the SKUSA Supernats. We see a regular run of releases coming in where teams announce which drivers are with them, who's going to be in Las Vegas. And we find out what Europeans are coming over. CRG, of course, bringing over Paulo DeCanto once again. He'll race with CRG Nordam in the KZ category, your 2016 and 2017 winner. Pedro Hiltbrand is going to be running in both X30 and I believe Pro Shifter. And Kalen Bradshaw coming back again to run X30 Senior. He'll join guys like Caden Gray, Brendan Baker, Olin Galley coming back as well. He was a top 5 guy last year. Tyler Maxson will be driving for CRG Nordam in the junior category. Aiden O'Neill. Of course, we'll see Liam Snyder, Max Hewitt, Kyle Wick, Rod Clenard, all racing under the CRG Nordam tent in the shifter kart categories. And I'm told this guy named Matt Jaskell coming back as well. So excited to see Matt come out and go racing once again. Anytime Matt comes and races, he doesn't race regularly, but when he puts together a program and comes to the Supernats, he always seems to do well. I'm going to schedule a podcast with Matt next week, get a chance to talk to Matt a little bit about racing and about, of course, what he did on the Castaways reality TV show. We'll talk about that a bit. But David, again, not surprising, this week in karting, we get hit with really one of our first kind of driver lineup press releases, CRG bringing some big dogs over. DeCanto trying to come back and go 3 for 3.
Yeah, one of the major driver releases that we've seen because, again, like we talked about earlier, this is a worldwide event. A lot of the chassis manufacturers are going to bring some of their top guns into Vegas, and especially in the KZ category, try and steal that 10 grand and give Tom Kutcher a new helmet to put up on the mantle. But this could be a historic event for DeCanto. Coming in now as a 3-time winner in the KZ category, winning in 2014 as well in his farewell race with Burrell Art before moving to CRG Factory. Ironically, Gary Carlton is the only driver to beat DeCanto in the last 4 years. So very interesting dynamic to see if DeCanto can join Connor De Felipe as the only driver to win 4 times at the Super Nationals.
Great stat there. You're right. Connor De Felipe doing it many years ago. Of course, Connor now a very successful professional sports car driver. But yeah, DeCanto looking for race win number 4. And in fact, it would be the 3rd in the row. So CRG Nordam stacking things up. They got a fantastic group of guys. Being told by you and Jeffrey that there are over 30 drivers under the tent at the moment for CRG Nordam. So they're coming guns a-blazing, dude. It's going to be, Super Nats is less than a month away. And man, I'm excited to get out there. It'll be the 22nd edition. I've been privileged to announce all 21 before that. Back for number 22. We've got some great plans for our coverage that we'll get into in another podcast. But wow, dude, lots coming up for sure. Super Nats is going to be big. All right. David says no comment there.
Always. Sorry.
Take another drink of water. Good for you.
Yeah.
Let's go to our last commercial break on this initial edition of This Week in Karting. Again, Rob Howden and David Cole with you here. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the podcasts that we knocked out this past week, because we're really ramping things up here on the EKN Radio Network. We'll give you a scoop on what's coming up on EKN as well. Stay with us. More to come. Episode number 1 of This Week in Karting.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Are you ready to get the 2018 season started? If you're like us, we're ready to get out of the snow and back to the track. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry. With over 50 years of combined karting experience, we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. If you're ready to take your racing to the next level, come join us at Team FMS. We've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for many years. From providing a helping hand at a weekday test outing or club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For 2018, we'll be attending the SKUSA Winter Series and Pro Tour, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the Route 66 Karting Series. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to our first episode of This Week in Karting here on the EKN Radio Network. Of course, David Cole, the news desk manager at EKN. He runs the show. So David gave us an opportunity, and I, of course, helped out with all the news that was hitting the EKN homepage over the last week. We're going to try to make this podcast a weekly addition to the EKN Radio Network. May not get one around the Super Nats because it's going to be a little crazy. We'll be doing the debriefs, and but things will get back to normal when we get into December. David, let's jump into our EKN podcast review. Man, we knocked a bunch of them out here this past week. I had a chance to talk with Nick Tucker, with Greg Jasperson, with Garrett Potter. Nick Tucker and I chatted a lot about his team and kind of what that program's done. And man, they're winning races, they're developing drivers. And one of the cool things I thought, and Nick was kind of was kind of standoffish about it, didn't want to say too much really about it, didn't commit to too much. But he's working on a full-size prototype for the Nitro Kart program, and really that does seem like a logical evolution for what they're doing.
It's the next step from what he began as a cadet-only focus, not only chassis but race team. The race team expanded to welcoming senior and junior drivers to their driver development program, and now obviously with the cadet chassis that they have under the Nitro Kart banner, full size is the next step. It's the evolution of a chassis brand. I mean, most of the time you see them start with a senior full size and then they work their way down to cadet. So exactly. Tucker's going the opposite direction. So it's interesting. And again, this weekend at the WKA race, they actually have the opportunity to win the Manufacturers Cup Series trophy for winning the most races on the season. So we'll see if they'll be able to lock that up this weekend at their home track.
Another cool thing that Nick and I talked about was the fact that we talked about the development of the prototype for junior and senior, but they also have the kid kart now. And we chatted a bit about the fact that Delana Harvick had posted on social media that Kevin Harvick's son Keelan actually out. Like, he's been obviously driving little electric carts around their place in North Carolina, but they had him out at GoPro in a Nitro Kart kid kart too. So maybe Harvick's just got to retire, stop racing Cup, take care of the kid, bring Keelan up the ranks.
I'm sure it probably won't happen until he's 8. Maybe once he gets through kid kart, then after Harvick wins, maybe. I mean, I believe he has the opportunity to win another championship this year. So we'll see. We'll see.
From there, Nick Tucker, we had a great podcast. I had a chance to talk to Greg Jasperson. And David, this is something we both wanted to get in. We weren't able to make the trek to the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals this year. We were in Lancaster for the Streets of Lancaster race, tremendous event that we always love to attend. But I got a chance to talk to Greg. We just posted the report that he helped get us some information. That race report now up on eKarting News. Very topical here on This Week in Karting. Just an awesome opportunity to talk to Greg. He's so well-spoken. I always enjoy speaking with him. And David, they've got a program going there. That thing, only in the second year, almost 200 entries. I have a sneaking feeling that race is going to explode as a season-ending 206 event. Would you agree?
I would think so. It's kind of right at the right time. October, a lot of the club races or programs have already kind of completed their season. I mean, hell, it was snowing in Canada. So I really don't understand why all those guys that race up in Canada, up in Edmonton and Calgary and all that area, why they haven't made the trek down to this race. I mean, it's snowing up there. Get the hell away from it. Indiana is at least 50 degrees, if not 60 on a good day. So, but it's about, again, it's a grassroots Grand Nationals. It's about bringing everybody together. It's kind of like the SCCA runoffs. It really is. It's turning into that only after 2 years. It's a great place to gather. It's a great racetrack, obviously, with Newcastle Motorsports Park. You have all the amenities there, so that makes you feel at home and welcome. And the crew that Jasperson is able to put together and put on the event, tons of prizes, awards, etc. So it's a win-win.
So those of you who are listening in, you know that on the EKN Radio Network, we're constantly replaying these stuff. David and I are recording here on Thursday, October the 25th. This podcast, of course, coming out on Friday for the first time. All these podcasts are going to eventually be available as single podcasts as well through the website or through Podbean. But if you've downloaded the EKN Radio app, you're able to listen to them. Today on Thursday, as we do this podcast, record this podcast, we're streaming all the replays of my Nick Tucker podcast, Jasperson, Potter. Make sure that you're looking at the page on EKN. We have the schedule there. David usually gets 2 or 3 or 4 days in advance booked up, so you'll know when you can to listen if you're trying to pick up one particular podcast. But David, bang on with the Jasperson deal and the Cup Karts North America. One thing you and I talk about, we've seen for many years, year after year, and it's a fact. Numbers bring numbers, right? So last year they had 145. They bumped to almost 200 this year. This is going to be one of those can't miss races. You don't want to miss it next year. I'm going to say 250, potentially 275 next year. I would expect more Canadians are going to come down. A couple of guys did. Mark Steele came down. I believe Steve McAvoy came down. Jamie MacArthur came down from Ontario to run. I think you're going to see more guys from Canada come down as well. This is a race, I think, that's just starting to fuel up, because you're right. It's a very much like the SCCA runoffs. It's that, kind of festival for 206. There's great racing throughout the summer. Battle of the Brickyard, Quincy, Rock Island, whatever it may be. But man, this race, I think it's perfectly positioned. Greg's going to move it to the first week of October in 2019. This thing is going to explode. That's my feeling, at least.
I'm even going to challenge those KPX guys to come out too, because
again,
you got over probably 150 to 200 racers out there in California. Hey, find somebody with a big hauler and load all the carts in and haul out to Newcastle for a good time. Because
David Vasquez came out, right, Dave?
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully he'll be able to go back, tell everybody about it, and again, a lot of these racers have never been to Newcastle. So this is the great opportunity to come and race at one of the greatest tracks we have in this country.
Yeah, it's a bucket list facility for sure. And someone's got to come out to battle Colin Warren and Gary Lawson. Because listen, you and I are going to race, and it's not going to be us.
No, I can guarantee with 100% certainty I will not be as fast as Gary Lawson or Colin Warren.
No, but we are going to go. Dave and I are going to be there next year. We're going to race. I look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We had a great interview with Greg Jaspers. And the final interview that I did that we had on the EKN Radio Network was with Garrett Potter, who is the lead guy for Rock Cup USA. He and I talked about the Rock Cup International Final a little bit, how well the Americans and drivers that race in America did over at South Guard. He wasn't able to make the trek, not surprising, with the Rock de Rio event just a month away. That's their big race for Rock drivers. They're going to be at the Rio. Well, I think is it the first week of November? Is that what it is? Last week of October, first week of November. They're there for Halloween. I know that. So that event just around the corner as well. We previewed that a bit, previewed a little bit about the 2019 season, what's coming. Garrett obviously trying to build that program, right? They've got the Florida Winter Tour, but he's doing what he can to see if they can't get that program growing other places around the country.
Well, we've seen the numbers increase. As you said, Halloween is when things begin at the Rock de Rio. There are over 200 drivers already. So that event is definitely on the rise in its debut from the Mac. If you compare it to the max speed version of it. The Challenging Americas was up every race. We're getting to see more rock racers at club and regional programs. So the numbers are growing for the rock program in North America, the Canada program as well too. So a lot of positives in 2018 for Rock Cup USA.
Let's just a quick preview of podcasts I have lined up. I'm actually going to, when we're done here, I'm jumping right into another one pretty soon this afternoon with Alan Rudolph from the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy and Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas. Mike Rawlson and I have a time booked for Monday. Mike, of course, from the Rawlson Performance Group, one of the leading teams in North American karting. I spoke with Matt Jaskell. He's jacked. We're going to do a podcast next week as well to talk about his life, his racing. Here's a guy going to the Supernats who won in 1998 as an 80cc junior driver. He's going to be back running, I believe, KZ this coming edition of the Supernats. And I'm going to try to see if we can't sit down with Chris Rossi from the KPX Championship as well. We're going to talk to a lot of the promoters here over the next 2 to 3 weeks, right through to the end of December to Christmas. Talk about what happened in 2018. Then we're going to talk about 2019 as well. So Chris Rossi, who's one of the leadership group of the KPX Championship in Northern California. We're going to sit down and talk as well. Dave, let's wrap up this first edition of This Week in Karting by talking about what's coming up on the EKN site as well. You're hitting the road, as I said. EKN Trackside Live coverage, our penultimate event of the 2018 tour. You're going back to GoPro Motorplex. Is it going to rain?
It's going to rain. It's going to rain all day tomorrow. It's 100% forecasted to rain. So
Yuck.
not only rain, but we're talking 44 degrees as the high. So cold and rainy.
Stay in the booth, my friend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of people who skip practice tomorrow.
This is wrong. I feel bad because I don't have it. We don't have any EKN rain gear. We got some nice jackets. We got some great Spider shirts. We're golden. I've never got you any rain gear. I apologize. I'll fix that for 2019.
Thank you. I have a makeshift rain gear set up ready to go. So we'll see how well that handles the wetness and the dampness and the coldness and every unforsaken thing you can think of going into tomorrow. Thankfully, as I said, tomorrow's Friday. Okay, sorry, they moved up the warm high temperature up to 48, so that's good. But,
it's gonna be balmy.
But thankfully, Saturday and Sunday they're saying 63, 65 with only 20% chance of rain, mostly sunny both days. So that's definitely a positive. So it makes me think that tomorrow it might be just kind of a hang out and keep warm and maybe spike a few coffees here and there to keep warm.
I just brought up Mooresville on my iPhone. You're right. Yeah, low 60s for Saturday and Sunday. Sun on Sunday. What are you worried about? It's perfect.
Tomorrow's going to be terrible.
Yeah. Hey, you're probably second guessing that. Was it 5:30 flight tomorrow morning? Is that what we went for?
Yeah. That's not it wouldn't be a bad idea to miss it and get a later flight.
We booked it, and you were like, "Oh man, I want to get down there early." I'm like, "Dude, listen, it's your funeral. Whatever you want to do, it's your wake up call, not mine." I commend you. 5:30, you were going to be there, ready to rock, and nobody's going to go out on track.
Well, I'll be at the track at probably about 10. So yeah, nobody will be out there, but we'll see.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff I know you're working on. After this weekend's done, what do we got going? We got a Rock the Reel preview and then jumping right into Supernats. Is that essentially correct? Some of the stuff people are going to see on the site in the next week?
Yep. I get back to the office Monday. We'll have the Rock the Reel preview up Tuesday morning as they get ready to tackle Las Vegas and Sin City all week long. Their finals end on Saturday, so for those who are going to be watching the live timing on their Rock Cup USA app, make sure to be ready Saturday for that. All next week we'll get those 3 podcasts up on Podbean and all the different podcast links that you have for your phone, so you'll get those 3 apps or those 3 podcasts up. And then,
hey, by the way, we'll be doing our debrief podcast on Tuesday as well from the Man Cup race. So there's another one coming.
Of course.
So,
and then
download the app.
And then Supernats preview program begins November 3 with a preview of each class each day, along with predictions. And of course, pretty soon coming up is the unveiling of the track layout that Superkarts USA is decided to do for this year's Super Nationals.
Man, that's good stuff. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. I'm going to help out with the predictions this year as well. I'm telling you that now.
Thanks.
We haven't talked about it yet. I'm going to jump in this year. Well, listen, dude, you were so bad last year. I figured I should probably come in and bring my expert opinion.
That's okay. When you go 0 for 5 in all the categories, we'll be good to go.
We should have some kind of a scoring system.
We did. We have one. You just didn't want to pick the last couple of years because you were busy.
I was pretty busy.
I think you were scared.
Yeah,
you just come up with excuses. So,
wow, no. You know what you're scared of? Going head to head with me next year at the Battle of the Brickyard and at Cup Karts North America, the Grand National. We are going head to head.
Well, we're going to have to come up with a third race so we can. Well, we don't need to because I'll beat you at both, so we won't need a tie. So.
Wow, that's impressive though. I like the confidence, Dave. I'm impressed. I like it.
I'm full of confidence.
We'll see what happens though. We'll have to do a third race like Ravenna or something like that. East Lansing.
Bring it.
Somewhere in Michigan. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get full Michigan State livery and a new suit.
Disgusting. Go.
That was a pretty good battle. What was disgusting was that battle between University of Michigan and Michigan State this last weekend. That was pretty crazy.
No. Yeah,
What was that all about?
state, they have no class.
Wow, there it is. Hey, but I will give you the shout out right now. If you want to slam Randy Kugler about Ohio State, you can do that.
Boiler up, yeah. Well,
How was that?
Purdue's my second favorite school, so it's always good to see them win. And
yeah, I didn't see Kugler jumping on to bark at you, though. That's for sure.
And so it was definitely a good weekend. A lot of Carters go to Purdue, so it was a good weekend for them.
Well, David, there you go. We got our first episode of This Week in Karting locked and loaded. And folks, for those of you who are, really into the EKN radio network, you've got the app downloaded to your phone or mobile device. You're listening on your way to work or, heading home in the car or whatever you're doing. Maybe you're listening in the garage working on your cart. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. We love it. We'd love you to go on iTunes as well and give us a rating and a review. That'd be amazing for us. Of course, trying to get some more feedback in terms of what we're doing here on the EKN Radio Network. Our podcast program really starting to develop. We have the regular EKN debriefs where David Cole and I break down the event we were just attending. We've got our industry insider talking to some of the major players in the sport. Operation Grassroots, of course, very, very big. We talk 206 racing. I've got an article, a 206 update coming up for the website. This is something new for us here this week in karting. David and I are playing with a couple other ideas. Concept down the road, hopefully, to maybe do some live call-in shows as well. We're really excited about 2019, but this is just another step forward. This Week in Karting, giving you the opportunity to kind of get updated on all the major news that hit the EKN homepage over the past 7 to 10 days. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.